Hey everyone, you're listening to the official podcast of 4PlayerNetwork.com. Check us out at that address for everything you need to know about our community, monthly giveaways, and nightly live streams. You can even support us on Patreon at patreon.com/4Player. And last but not least, you can catch the live recordings of these podcasts every single Thursday night on our Twitch channel. We hope to see you there. Enjoy. Welcome to 4Player Podcast, episode 699. It is October 21st, 2021. I'm your host this evening, Nick Henderson, and I am joined by Christopher Davis.
Good evening.
Ed Mitchell.
Hello.
Krispy.
Oh, hey.
And Nolan.
No one's not actually here.
Damn it, Ed. I was getting
You
ready
ruined
to
the
say
joke.
Nolan again. I was about to do the whole Bueller thing, and then Ed ruined the whole thing. Nolan's not here tonight. It's an actual 4-player podcast. And you know what? We have huge plans for episode 700.
Or Chris Davis does.
We do?
Or Chris Davis.
I do?
He hasn't told us what the plans are yet.
Well, I mean, 700 would be next week, and
give us your best pitch for episode 700 right now on the
we
spot.
play nothing but Halloween games.
That's not a podcast. That's a stream.
Yeah. We talk about nothing but horror games.
We would skip over 700, and 700 would be the next week then.
Here's what a lot of people don't, because a lot of people obviously know us from back in the day playing horror games and Brad screaming like a little girl and all this stuff. And like that's what people associated with us for so long. But what people don't realize is that only like 2 people on this podcast actually enjoy and appreciate horror games. Yet every Halloween it's like play horror game.
Well, let's not conflate enjoy and appreciate.
That is true. That is true. I'm sure many of y'all appreciate horror games, except for Chris Davis. I don't think Chris Davis appreciates horror games.
I'm okay with horror games. It's just that I'm not entertaining to watch when playing a horror game.
Oh, I am.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
I still have the clip that I share out of me screaming like a little girl when I turned a corner in Amnesia and ran right like face first into a monster.
There we go. I mean, that's the beauty of it there.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only way I'm going to play Amnesia. So on the stream in October.
Hey,
so.
I figured out a long time ago because I used to be scared shitless of playing horror games. Especially even before I was streaming, I was scared to play horror games. But I I discovered the only way I could get through it was to literally talk to myself and yell to myself and like just like psych myself up while I was playing. That was even long before I was streaming, so I looked like a lunatic. But that's how I've grown to enjoy horror games as much as I do. Speaking of horror games, I want to real quickly remind everybody that we ran a poll this week for the Revival Club. The final Revival Club game of 2021 has been chosen. We nominated 4 games and ran a poll, and Brad was convinced that Alan Wake was going to win that poll, and it came real close. But the community went with Cold Fear, which is a real deep-ass cut of a video game. It's like a PS2 era Resident Evil clone.
Yeah, can you even play it?
It's on PC. Apparently, it's pretty decent on PC. Wow. Actually, you look at Steam and it has like mostly positive reviews. It's and I've never touched it. It's one of those things I've kind of always seen on the I saw it on the shelf when I worked at GameStop a lot. Never played it. Haven't really thought about it in years, and then all of a sudden somebody threw it out as an option for the poll, and I almost kind of put it on there as kind of like not a joke, but kind of like, well, this one's definitely not going to win, but let's do it.
So why was this added? I don't understand the answer to this question.
You know what? I don't want to like point any fingers or anything, but I think there might have been a touch of electioneering and tampering going on with this particular poll.
Yeah.
Why are you thinking?
It seems like shadowy interests had a finger in all this.
That seems to happen quite often with this fucking show.
Are you calling me the shadowy interest, or am I misreading this?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Are you, Nick?
Well, Brad thought I was trying to rig it for Alan Wake to win, but
Well,
Cold Fear won with
I think
44% of the vote. So
I think if that's true, there was also somebody else rigging the opposition to win.
hey,
So I think somebody out corrupted you.
it's possible. It's possible. But the decision has been made. It's our final Revival Club game of the year, and we're gonna play Cold Fear. In fact, I'm gonna start that on my next stream, which is probably gonna be over the weekend. I have a bunch of horror games lined up I want to dabble in. I'm gonna make that one of them. I'm also gonna play like Tormented Souls, which is a Resident Evil clone. Oh, Chris Davis, to answer your question, you said why was that even on the poll? To be honest, I don't know. We like to keep these things relevant, and you know what? If you want to make it relevant, we can say it's a Resident Evil clone. Resident Evil was invented or created by Shinji Mikami, who works for Tango Gameworks, who is working on Ghostwire Tokyo, which releases next year.
There it
There we go.
is. He landed that bird.
6 degrees of Ghostwire Tokyo.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well,
yes.
technically, they're both video games, and
There we go.
there you go.
You know what? Maybe I thought about it too hard.
This is the same development studio, Darkworks, that's responsible for the bad version of Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter and the original designers for I Am Alive before they got canned.
Oh, wait, you meant this is the team that did Cold Fear?
Yes.
Didn't you also say this is the team that made that one Alone in the Dark game, which is actually
The New
received pretty
Nightmare?
well? The New Nightmare?
It was
Which
generally okay reviews from what I think I remember.
well, you know what? Maybe we'll find out because I really have no idea what to expect from Cold Fear. All I know is I like Resident Evil like games. I like boats, and when you bring those two things together,
You get
I'm
Resident
in.
Evil Revelations.
you that or Cold Fear, which is what we'll be playing. So
Or Gun
if you
Survivor.
are- if you're out there listening at home and you're like, oh, this sounds interesting, I would like to play this and talk about it, and maybe join Nick for a podcast where I talk about it. You can go to discord.gg/4Player if you're a subscriber on Twitch or a supporter on Patreon. You can join the Cold Fear channel in Discord, and we're gonna get started this weekend. So keep that in mind.
I really think Brad scammed us. I think that's what this is about. I
don't-
think he wants to fuck over the Revival Club.
I feel like that's giving Brad a little too much credit. That requires effort.
This is the
And I
same
don't
man
know-
who fucking rigged the community vote several years ago for fucking Game of the Year. Like, no, fuck that man. I don't trust him at all.
Oh, right. That was actually pretty funny, though. Anyways, let's get to it. We got a lot of stuff to cover tonight. I think I actually want to start with Ed because, first of all, Ed, thank you for being here. It's
Oh,
always
yeah,
a
of course.
pleasure. And
Happy to
I
be
got
here.
really excited when I saw on the doc you put Outer Wilds Echoes of the... Is it called Echoes of the Eye?
Echoes of the Eye, yeah.
I've been hearing lots of whispers about this game, and of course we all love Outer Wilds. And I've basically just been waiting for someone to play it and sell me on it, so...
Cool. So I will
How's that going?
sell you on it. Yeah. So I will preface this by if you don't want, there are some spoilers to some aspects of the DLC in the footage here. So if you don't want to see that, close your eyes or tab away, and we'll tell you when to come back
Blindfold.
because I really think that like just like the original game, this game is best going in knowing absolutely nothing. The very first thing that happens when you join the game, and actually I lost my save to Outer Wilds, so I've actually replayed the entire game.
Holy shit, you did that just
yeah.
to prepare for this DLC?
Well, okay, so there's like an aspect to the DLC that if you if you go back after you beat the DLC and beat the game, then you get like an extra little scene or something like that.
Oh,
So so like I played through the entire game because I love this game. It's actually like one of my favorite games ever. And so I kind of wanted to experience it again. For one thing, and just like bringing myself into the world like just reminded me how much I loved it. So even though I knew all the solves of the puzzles and there was nothing I learned new in the main version of the game, I still just loved being in it.
See, this is the gift of being someone like me who has a terrible memory. I've already forgotten all of the solutions to the puzzles. I remember a lot of like the story beats and stuff, but I feel like if I was to go back and play Outer Wilds, it's obtuse enough and open enough that it would still feel pretty magical.
Yeah, and I mean, like and honestly, the DLC has all of that magic back again. They don't teach you they teach you the mechanics like that of the like how to solve puzzles very naturally and kind of show you how to do things. The new planetoid that's part of this DLC, it has a lot of light control of
Mhm.
things. And so you use your flashlight to control different things and there's like a lore reason basically why you do that.
So
Um
real quick before we get too far into it, so
yeah,
when you play this DLC, you load into your
you load
existing
into your
game.
existing game and you get a message that says like, "Hey, there's something new in the observatory for you to go look at." And so you go
Okay.
look at that, and that is like it starts you on the quest chain basically to find to the new planetoid. Um,
Cool.
and so like I'm gonna try my hardest here not to spoil like what the new planetoid is or anything like that or any of the mechanics therein, but just know that like the it is they do all the same tricks that they did in the last game of like uh it's obvious basically like how to solve the puzzles is obvious in retrospect, right? But
Yeah.
because it's just like somewhat hidden from you, you're able to kind of like either a figure it out on your own or b like go through the steps of how it's guiding you to help teach you how to go to. So like I've actually figured out a number of puzzles just kind of accidentally, honestly.
Yeah.
um and and that's what's just like so great about the Outer Wilds experience is that you can go from knowing literally nothing about the game and then like just by you accidentally stumble into a solution. I have a friend of mine who played the game and he accidentally discovered how to get into the core of Giant's Deep without like
Oh.
looking at any of the logs or anything like that. And he just figured that out just by like he saw the thing and was
Yeah,
like,
it's
I'm
it's
just
it's
gonna
definitely
go and
one of
do
the
it.
it's definitely one of those games where it's like all the solutions are kind of open to you from the outset. There's not a lot that you have to like trigger or do before you
Yeah,
can do it.
it's not a
So like
Metroidvania in the traditional sense of like you unlock a new skill and do a thing. It's a Metroidvania in the like knowledge. So
yeah.
you as a player gain knowledge, and they don't hold your hand or anything like that. They just tell you all this. You read a law, like some text somewhere, and then it says ship's log updated, and maybe that ship's log has like a little blurb that might remind you basically what you learned
Right.
there. But like you don't have to go to the ship's log unless you really want to. It
Yeah.
doesn't like, and this is where like the comparisons to like that I think about like Deathloop when
Yes,
like
that's what I was gonna bring up.
when I read a log in Deathloop, it popped up the exact thing I learned from that log. Very explicitly like what I need to do. Versus this game is very much more like it trusts the player to be able to figure things out. And like we don't get a lot of games like that nowadays.
I do feel like now that I've played Deathloop and looking at it in retrospect, I can't help but feel like maybe some of that aspect of design was influenced by Outer Wilds, but like they like kind of like what you said, they go a little farther than maybe I would have liked in
Yeah.
Deathloop because I almost feel like it would have been nicer if it's like when you read something instead of just explicitly telling you what you just learned, it's like it just says like your log has been updated, so you know in the back of your
Right.
head if I want to know if I'm stuck, maybe I should go check out that log and see what I'm missing.
It
But
definitely
instead, it just
seems
kind of
like
flashes.
Crispy and I talked about this a lot of times when we were talking about Deathloop. Is it definitely seems like the core design of Outer Wilds like is doing something that the Deathloop developers basically weren't brave enough to do in a sense, right? They weren't they
Yeah.
didn't trust the player enough to be able to do that
You're
stuff.
you're not gonna. Yeah, it's that whole meme of like Western AAA studios like having really hand-holdy gameplay, and in the case of Deathloop, it absolutely is the case.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you can kind of feel like the corporate overlords like kind of
Right.
looming
Right.
over the design process and saying you need to make
Right.
that more obvious. You can't, and which in some cases is fine, and but in other cases it kind of it
I
dulls
think it was
the
definitely to the
creative.
detriment of that game.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure, for sure.
So
Yeah.
so I will say this did come out in early October, or actually it is the very end of September. There are horror elements to the DLC.
That's what I was gonna. I was like,
It's
Ooh.
very thematic to an October playthrough. So if
is
you
it
can
spooky, Ed? Is it spooky?
Is it creepy?
Yeah. Remember when I said that they were like light? Like they do a lot of stuff with light. They also do a lot of things with darkness too. So it's spooky and it's and I definitely like
Fuck yeah.
almost shit my pants one or two times.
That's
It's not
see,
they don't do
that's
like it's not like about jump scares, but you do have to like avoid roaming enemies basically.
well,
Oh
I'm in.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, this kind of sounds like right up my. I was gonna play this at some point, anyways, because it's
Yeah.
Outer Wilds, and Outer Wilds is kind of incredible. But the thought of blending, because Outer Wilds already has this like really palpable atmosphere of just. I
Mhm.
mean, it's not like overtly horror, but like it's it's kind of the creepiness of like the vastness of space is certainly a thing.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think in this game already. So to combine that with actual horror elements sounds pretty dope.
Yeah, and like I trust this developer wholesale now. And the next thing they do, I don't care what it is. I know I'm going to like it, right? Like we were talking before the podcast about Ted Lasso and how that first season is like the perfect season of television, but the second season kind of fell flat for me. And I was worried that my hype meter was so high on this DLC that I was going to have the same experience, and I did not at all. It just it met my expectations and surpassed it. So it really is. It really is if you liked Outer Wilds, if you loved Outer Wilds, it's really good.
Cool. And if anybody out there is listening to this podcast and has not played Outer Wilds, you should rectify that because it's incredible.
Yeah. Definitely.
So I want to swing the pendulum over to Krispy because he's played.
You can
What's
come
up?
back and watch our live stream now. The video is gone.
What's
The
up?
video
What's
is
up?
gone now. So I know you said these are kind of quick mentions for you.
Yeah. These are
But
quick mentions.
since Ed was mentioning a game that has kind of like horror themes throughout it, I kind of want to hear your quick thoughts on Inscryption because you started playing that, right?
I did start playing Inscryption. I haven't played a whole lot of it, but I did start playing it, and I'll just tell you up front, very positive about what I've experienced so far. The
What is the
vibe,
gist of it? What is the core of that game? Because it's kind of
the
hard to tell just looking at
vibe.
screenshots.
So that's kind of the fun part about it. In that, like, I don't know. I like I do like I have a premise. I have like a setup of what I've seen so far, right? But it also is pretty obvious that there's more going on, right? And I don't know what that looks like yet, and that's
Okay.
what's exciting. I will say like I almost I don't know like I feel like this is one of those games. It's like Pony Island, right? It's like the more you know, maybe some people might feel like their experience with the game is hindered by knowing too much going into
Gotcha.
it. Um,
You're saying
but
going blind.
but it is also a really kind of like obtuse game. Like I mean, what is going on is not incredibly clear from the trailers. So I'm going to describe it. I would say if you're worried about any kind of spoilers for Inscryption, I'm not getting into anything deep. I'm just talking about like what happens when you boot up the program, right?
Okay.
If you don't want to hear any of that, I would say this is a spoiler warning. Just come back in a couple minutes.
I'll be leaving now. Just kidding.
Okay.
Just kidding.
So the interesting thing so far is that it has that same kind of trend like what you saw with Coney Island, where there's obviously some kind of presentation. There's a framing device to this game that is presenting it to you as a video game that you're playing, right? So the the little symbol for the game on your taskbar is a picture of a floppy disk, and when you first open it up there's like a voice that plays on the menu that's like, okay, let's see what this is, and then like the program starts, and it's a game. It takes you to a very basic game start menu that's like continue, new game, options, and something else, right? Credits, I think, right? And it's the first time you've booted up the program, but you cannot select new game. You have to select continue. There's like a continue file on the game. So you start playing and it just dumps you in and it's just like, all right, here you go.
You clearly know what you're doing.
Right,
No, I don't.
right, right. But the game also does give you like a tutorial. So like it's like, oh, you've been away for a while, here, let me explain it to you. So like they tell you the bare minimum of like mechanically what you need to know without like really telling you what the fuck is going on, you know? So
Right.
that's interesting. But basically what's happening is you're in this cabin, this like creepy cabin with a shadowy figure that you can't see because he's like sitting in a shadowy corner, and all you can really see is his eyes and mouth and sometimes his hands. And you're playing a card game with this guy. And the card game is a very simple lane-based deck building game, right?
Okay.
It's all about summoning creatures. Most of, like, pretty much every card I've seen so far has been an animal, right? And they're all summons, and they all have different like sacrifice costs. So like you're playing low level creatures, you're sacrificing them to bring out high level creatures, kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh, you know?
Yeah.
Um, but some of your cards talk to you. Like some of your cards, like there's like 3 cards I think that talk to you that you end up getting, and the first one is a stoat, kind of like a weasel. And like when you first draw him, he like starts talking to you. So like his print, like where his name is on the card, like is the subtitles of him talking to you.
Huh.
And he'll be like, "Oh, play me here." Like, "Don't play me here." Or like the first time you play him, you end up sacrificing him to bring something else out. The next time you pull him, he's like, "Yo, you fucking sacrificed me, dude." He's like, "Whatever, it's cool, I get it," you know. But it like it has this weird bit of like tension to it because it's like you're killing these animals to bring out different animals to fight the animals of like whatever scenario you're encountering, right? That is the basic like moment to moment gameplay, and the whole thing is set up in a roguelike structure where you're moving along a very simplified kind of like roguelike map where you have a trail that you're following that has different encounters laid out on it, and sometimes there are divergences and you can pick different paths and whatnot, right?
Okay.
You go through these different encounters. Sometimes they'll be like, oh, you're ambushed by creatures from the woods, and then the game will start and you have to like fight these creatures. Sometimes you'll meet NPCs that do stuff for you, power up cards, change the values of cards, do different things to your cards, give you different things, like items that you can use in combat. And some of this stuff is fucking grisly, dude. Like, for instance, your life totals in this game are golden teeth that go into a scale as you deal damage to each other. So, like, as you hit, like, if I hit you for 4 points of damage, you get 4 teeth in your side of the scale. And if your side of the scale touches the table, you lose, right? There's an item.
Like teeth that are like pulled out by the root. Like we're talking.
Those teeth are not, but there's an item that you can get from one of these NPCs, buy these like consumable items, and one of them is a set of pliers. And it's like, you know, if you're in a bad spot and you need an extra point to kind of like push them over the edge, you use the pliers, and your carrot, like the pliers go into your mouth and rip a tooth out, and it does this whole like fucking gruesome like pain effect thing where like the screen goes red and it's all vibrating and shit, and then you throw that tooth in the scale.
Wow, Chris Davis just cringed out of this podcast. I think.
Yeah, it's fucking
I was
nuts,
like,
man.
no.
It's fucking gruesome, man. It's fucking
Chris
gruesome.
Davis can't handle teeth talk.
That's just bad.
And you
That's
do all these,
awesome.
you encounter these different characters, and all the characters are played by the shadowy figure across the table, right? So when you go like the
Does
first
he have dialogue?
yes,
like-
yeah, a lot. He talks a lot. I mean, it's not voiced; it's all subtitle.
Oh, okay.
But he's like the only other person in the room with you, right? So he plays he's like a dungeon master. He plays all the other characters. So like you get to a boss, like the first boss is a mad I don't know, he's like a woodsman or something. And the shadowy dude will put on a crazy woodsman mask, and then like he kind of becomes that character, and then you're like talking to him. It's
That's
really
pretty
fucking
neat.
weird. And what is particularly unique about this is that is only one aspect of the game. The other aspect of the game is that the room you are playing in is kind of like an escape room. You can get up from the table anytime you're not in combat and like move around the room and interact with things, and figuring out different puzzles and combinations and stuff will like open secret compartments that give you more cards that do like all it's really weird, and I don't even know the full breadth of like stuff that there is to discover in there. I was looking on the forums, on the Steam forums, after playing for a couple hours, and I was reading about people, and like there are people posting stuff in there that are like, I just beat the game and I never interacted with like these items, but I know that there's something going on with them. Like what
Yeah.
the like what's going on with this game, kind of thing. So I'm getting real excited about that. The one mechanic I wanted to talk about that I thought was interesting from a deck building perspective, um, and again, this might be kind of cool to experience.
Spoiler warning, mild
I'm not
spoiler
gonna
warning.
tell you. I'm not gonna tell you. Okay, I'm not gonna tell you the basic. I'm just gonna tell you the mechanic of it. Basically, there's a mechanic when you die and you come back. Um, you can make your own unique card, and you get to like pick things like the cost of the like what the card costs to summon, what the card's power is, what its health is, like if it has any special abilities and stuff like that, and then you get to name it. And there is kind of a context to all that you'll see when you actually play the game, but it's a really interesting way to like, because the card game is so simple and the cards themselves are so kind of simple and it's only running off like three or four different sets of rules and then like a bunch of these modifier sigils. It makes it so that you can just like whip up a card like that on the fly, like in the game. Like you could
Yeah.
be like, man, it'd be really cool to have a card that has like this power and that I can summon with, this ability, right? Which I think is really fucking cool. I really enjoy that.
So it's like a deck builder and a card builder to an extent, which is
Yes, but by way of the fact that like both of those mechanics are pretty simple. The game itself is pretty simplistic rules wise, but it is very kind of like, so far it's been really rewarding tactically.
yeah.
So don't go in expecting anything like, it's not like Magic the Gathering or anything like really fucking weird and complicated. It's just a puzzle game with cards,
So real couple of really quick questions because the thing that sounds really attractive to me about this game and the thing that makes me kind of want to play it honestly is kind of the right now the narrative conceit of like playing this card game in this like empty cabin with this like shadowy figure. It sounds to me like it's
That is
would you
itself
just-
maybe in like a haunted video game.
yeah. So like would
Like,
you
yeah.
is the atmosphere like spooky? Like would you call it?
It's spooky. It's not like scary. It's not like, I wasn't like, oh, I can't play this with the lights off.
Yeah.
I'm notoriously kind of chicken about like hardcore scary games. This is
Right.
not like that, but it is fucking creepy. It's kind of like, it's cool. It's got a neat atmosphere to it for sure.
And the second question, as someone who just doesn't play a ton of deck builders or hasn't, not necessarily for lack of interest, but like,
Mhm.
would this be maybe a good
Oh,
place to start? I mean, I don't. It's, I don't,
yeah,
it's weird kind
yeah,
of thinking
no,
of this as
no,
like a
yeah, for
starting point
sure,
for a genre, but
for sure. I mean, yeah, Nick, I think you could pick this up and have a fucking grand old time with it. Absolutely.
I
It's
might do
not.
that.
It's not. Yeah, it's not a difficult set of mechanics, and it drip feeds it to you pretty well because of that whole like, because of the whole gating that you get naturally with one of like a roguelike sort of game anyway, right? Where it's all about getting a little farther that next run and getting a little bit more progression, unlocking more cards. More cards means more mechanics, and then the game gets a little more complicated as your understanding of it becomes more complete, right?
Yeah.
So I definitely think you can handle this,
All
and
right.
I think you should definitely try it out because it seems it. Again, I've only played a couple hours, but it seems like it have potential to be something really special. So
Cool. Well, I might. I'm trying to kind of like collect a bunch of like horror games that I can try. I kind of want to do like a horror stream this weekend or something where I just kind of like bounce around like 4 or 5 different things.
this
I
would,
might I might
like I
add that to
said,
the list.
it's not super scary, but this would definitely fit in with that kind of content for sure.
Atmosphere is more important to me than being overtly scary.
For sure.
Um, so to shift gears again, we talked about Metroid Dread last week a lot, and I don't want to talk a bunch about it tonight, especially now that I realize I think I'm the only person here who's playing it.
Yeah, I haven't started it yet, and I was really curious. I didn't even get a chance to listen to the podcast last week to hear what you guys said.
Well, let me tell you. So we were pretty darn positive on it last week, and I'm still really positive on this game. It's now I'm sitting at like 13 or 14 hours into the game at this point, and it just keeps going. And I feel like maybe I'm approaching the end just because I'm kind of like Samus is like almost fully kind of decked out in terms of like I have different suits and different upgrades and stuff, but I know there's like 3 or 4 different things throughout the world that I haven't figured out how to unlock or get past because I don't have the proper upgrade or ability. The thing that's kind of maybe not changed, but I've just become more aware of since our last discussion on it is just kind of how segmented the world is. I mean, like all these areas that you're exploring are quite large, and you can spend a long period of time exploring any one of these areas. But there's so many times where it's kind of like I realize, oh, I need to backtrack into this one area to do this to do something, and then I know that means I either have to go find like a train or an elevator or whatever to take me to this other part of the map. And it's been so long since I've played Super Metroid. I don't remember if that was that one big giant map or was it kind of segmented out
It was, I
that way?
mean, it was one giant map that was separated into distinct areas, but you were
Right.
definitely running through those areas to do your backtracking.
Yeah,
I
and to
don't
be
think there
honest,
was any kind of fast travel at all, was
No,
there?
there wasn't.
I mean,
There was
Yeah.
the only reason it kind of bugs me in this game is the fact that like every time you get on a train or an elevator to take you to a different area, it's like a, you know, 30-45 second loading
Mm.
screen. Um, which is kind of annoying, but easy to forgive because I feel like this game is what so well designed. Like this game is really fun to explore, and I am just having a grand old time going through it. And a lot of that kind of stems from the fact that I don't have like Metroid fatigue because I haven't played a ton of Metroids. So it's been a while since I played a game like a Metroid experience is kind of this pure. But yeah, man, it's really really great. It's also we can maybe use this as a segue to also kind of talk about the OLED. I know Ed you got your hands on an OLED Switch, right?
Yep, right
And
here.
I've been playing on mine as well. Um, and it's quite the I think it's a great. What are you playing on your Switch? Because I feel like Metroid is like this perfect like. Of course you're playing Fire Emblem Three Houses. I was like, what is that?
Yep.
Ed's Ed's a slave to Fire Emblem Three Houses, as always.
Yeah,
But
perhaps.
I've just found this to be a really great kind of like uh way to kind of demonstrate the what's great about the OLED, I think, which is
Right.
just the contrast of the screen and everything, and uh, the smaller, what do you call it? Is it the bezel? Did I get the word
Yeah.
right?
hmm
I said it wrong last time. It's just a great thing. How are you finding your
I mean,
OLED, Ed?
I play the Switch mostly in handheld.
Hmm.
Because when I'm at home, I'm either playing my PC or my PS5. But and so when I travel, which is fairly frequently, honestly, I play the Switch on the plane. I play the Switch when I'm at my in-laws' house, my parents' house, and stuff like that. So, uh, there's two big changes for me with the OLED. The first one is obviously the screen. It's like Nick said, the contrast is better. It's brighter. It really does pop, and I
I find
really
myself less tempted to dock it and play on my
yeah.
TV because it does look really nice. I tried playing Eastward for a little bit on
hmm
it, and Eastward like it's a beautiful game on the Switch anyway, just because of its art style. But man, it pops like crazy
Yeah.
on the OLED.
Yeah, so as Nick was teased me, I have mostly been playing Fire Emblem on it, and so that goes to the other thing. I am so glad to finally not have a day one Switch, which means the battery life is significantly improved.
Yes.
And I don't know how much of it is just because it's that second like battery like refresh that they did, or if
Hmm.
the OLED actually is more power efficient, but on my old Switch, I basically could not play Fire Emblem for more than a couple hours, like maybe 2 hours before the Switch starts to die.
Yeah.
Versus here, I can definitely play like 4 to 5 hours before it starts to get
Yeah.
get bad. And
I've been playing.
Fire Emblem is just an incredibly intensive on the battery game, more so
Yeah,
than any other Switch game I've played.
I'm
So
kind of curious to play Breath of the Wild on the OLED
yeah, me too,
and see how it
actually.
just do like a just play it like full battery charge, start playing Breath of the Wild and just play it until it runs out and just kind of see how it goes. Um, in fact, I might make a point to do that. Um, but oh god, what was I gonna say? I had a thought. Oh, about I've been playing handheld mostly as well. I've been playing a
Yep.
lot of Metroid on it, and I at work on my lunch break, and I've been playing in bed. Like I've actually been playing in bed, which I didn't used to do a whole bunch of. And I've been sitting on the couch more often, even though my TV is like right there and ready to like
Right,
dock.
right.
And sitting
I mean,
and
it's
playing.
perfect. It's perfect for me because Katie will be watching. Like right now, the is the World Series, and so she'll be watching that, and I'll just be playing my Switch next to it or playing football. So here is the dock.
Yep.
Um, it has, as mentioned in the trailer, it has the you can't see it in the
The
camera, but
Ethernet port.
the Ethernet port that I don't use.
Yep.
Um,
Same here.
the back, instead of like coming off the back, just kind of pops off, which is kind of neat and cool. But
Helpful.
the dock works for the old Switch too. I did test that, so nothing new in the dock as far as that's concerned. So it's not like so now I have a second dock that I can plug into a different TV in a different part of the house and use it there if I really really want to. But like I said, I don't usually play docked. Um, it's
Need the
nice for
kickstand.
Oh, yes, yes, okay. So, just real quick on the second or on the dock thing is now I do like to when I travel sometimes bring the dock with me, and so now I can do that without having to unplug it all. But yes, the kickstand is freaking sweet. Like it is way less flimsy, obviously, than the other one, and it goes all the way back, or not all the way, but most of the way back, right? Um, and it covers the entire back of the Switch instead, which is
Yeah.
super awesome. Another thing is the plastic is not that like shiny, or glossy kind of feel. It's more matted. It feels like, um,
Hmm.
and what's this is a huge improvement on my other Switch. The fan things there are broken because I dropped
The
it the wrong way.
the vent.
Yeah, the vent, yeah. But now they're a lot more it's a lot more of a sturdier plastic there, so I don't feel like it's as likely to break. Which is
Well, I'm
cool.
gonna need you to throw it against the wall and get back to us. Report back.
Yeah,
See
right.
how it.
I've
I want
actually
to know
already
how it
dropped
does.
I've actually dropped it twice. Once
What are
on a
you
carpeted
doing, Ed?
floor, and then once I brought it into the bathroom and I put it on my bathtub because I sit is right in front of the bathtub, and it slid off the into
No.
the bathtub. The bathtub wasn't full or anything, but it just went down and kind of did a little like swishy motion. But yeah, the my one complaint, I think last time when I was here, I showed off my like fixture S1 Pro controller mount thing. The Switch OLED is zero point 0.1 inches wider, so it does not fit on that fixture S1. So they're
That
coming out with
sucks.
a new version of it, but yeah, I was pretty disappointed by that. But I do have like Hori Pro Joy-Con replacement
Yeah,
things or whatever.
I have those as
Um,
well. I've been using those and they're great. The only bummer is that they're black and they don't, so you don't get that cool. I really like the look of the Switch with the white Joy Cons. I think it looks
yeah,
great, but I'm sacrificing that to play with the really comfy Joy Cons.
yeah. So if I need to use those, I will. I also bought the like Skyward Sword Joy-Cons because I'm a Zelda
Ooh,
nerd.
those were pretty.
Yeah. So I have like I basically have I think I have four different pairs of Joy-Cons now. And the first two are practically useless.
Yeah.
Because of the drift and stuff. Um, but
You
here's
know,
the
I've been yeah, they're those are nice Joy Cons. I've been pretty pleased with the purchase overall, but part of me does feel, uh, you know, part of me feels guilty for spending the money on the OLED just because. I mean, I feel like the battery makes up for it and the screen makes up for it, but at the same time, it's not a Switch Pro. Like you're
Yeah.
not, you're not getting that power boost or anything like that. You're not. We shouldn't be expecting games to suddenly start looking better. I mean, just except from getting that helpful boost from the contrast on the OLED screen. Um, so that's a little bit of a bummer. So
Yeah,
it's a great
for
entry
me,
point.
it was a 2 Switch household decision.
Yeah.
I don't my wife would use my Switch to play Hollow Knight or other things or whatever, and it's like, but I want to play my games too. So now
Yeah.
we just have 2 Switches, which is
Robin's in the living room right now playing Hades on my old Switch.
yeah.
So
So that was the primary reason I wanted the upgrade, but the kind of perks that I get out of it are
yeah.
worth it, I think, for me.
So I know Ed, you're going to talk about Metroid a little bit later in the show, but I do want to. Someone in chat had mentioned something about Brad not being here, and it's probably a good thing because of his Mercury Steam bias. But if you've been following the Metroid Dread channel in our Discord, he's been very active in there. He's enjoying the game. I mean, he's played it for 20 plus hours. He's enjoying it.
He hates that he's enjoying it.
I mean, I don't even know. I mean, Brad is not the guy. I feel like Brad doesn't hate when he enjoys things. I'm sure he's happy that he's enjoying it. But there is always the caveat of, yes, it's a Mercury Steam game, so a lot of us didn't have a ton of faith. I mean, it is kind of shocking in a way that how good of a not only how good of a game this is, but how good of a Metroid game
Yeah.
it is. You know what I mean? Like, because I feel like that Castlevania Lords of Shadow 1 was like, okay, this is a cool like God of War clone with Castlevania thing slapped on it, and it's serviceable and it has some cool moments and whatnot, but like it wasn't a very good like Castlevania game. And this is like, if somebody if you weren't aware going into it, this wasn't developed in house by Nintendo, you might never know the difference. It's very good, and it's also very pretty. I just like I said this last week, but like watching footage of this game prior to its release, I was like, okay, this game is going to soar on it, if at all, on its mechanical design and how it feels, which it feels great. It plays like a dream, but like I'm constantly impressed by like how good it looks visually. Like all of the cool effects going on in the foreground and the background, and the particle effects and the lighting, and like just these artistic choices that like really remind me of like, there's a lot of cool Metroid art out there. Like whether it's official or fan art, whatever it is like it is everywhere. And this game is like steeped in just like really cool like aesthetics on a visual and technical, or a design and technical level. And yeah, man, it's good. If you like Metroid, I feel like this is a no-brainer. I was kind of expecting this, like if it ends up being well received, it's still going to be like, oh yeah, it's that one Metroid that's made by not Nintendo. But like it does not really feel like that. I know Brad had pointed out some things about the parts that are distinctly Mercury don't feel as inspired or as quite as good as the things that are like staples of the franchise. And I tend to agree, although I'm not as familiar with what's classic and what's new as he is probably. So that line is a little bit blurrier for me. But everything that I've unlocked so far fits, and like the puzzle design is great, and like trying to and also surprisingly hard. Or maybe I just suck, I don't know, but I'm dying in this game a lot. A lot of tough boss fights, a lot of like areas where I'm just like, I have no idea how to progress, and I have to like, you do eventually unlock abilities that really make it a lot easier to kind of figure out your way forward. Like there's this one ability you get pretty late game that like lets you kind of like ping and suddenly see blocks that you would like, hidden blocks that you can break that you wouldn't normally, that are kind of hidden in the environment. And like, God, I was like, I wish I had this like 10 hours ago. It really starts speeding up the pace of the game. But I think like that's kind of the point. Like they want you to kind of struggle through a chunk of the game before they give you that. And because, but like at the point I'm at right now, like I am just like all kinds of crazy powers and all kinds of crazy maneuvers, and it's getting hard. It's getting to the point where it's like it's hard to remember all the controls because there's so many different things you can do at any given time. But it all feels good. It feels nice. It feels like Metroid, and for that I love it. Brad had said like maybe I should go back and actually play Samus Returns on the 3DS. I forgot it was a 3DS game because apparently that game looks pretty good for its time and for the hardware it was on too. So
Yeah.
I might do that.
Cool.
Anyways, that's Metroid update. What else we have? I know Chris Davis, you've been playing more Back. You actually have footage to roll this week of Back 4 Blood.
I do. I mean, we don't have to talk about it too much because I actually talked about it a lot more than just like, initial impressions last week. But
you've been playing a bunch more of it.
I have. I have beaten the campaign, and I have played a considerable amount of the PvP mode called Swarm. Okay. But my footage today is just of the campaign. But yeah, so this is. I'm just going to come out and say that I think this game. I think people owe this game. I think people owe this game a bit of an apology. After playing through the campaign and thinking about like what the discourse was in the past year leading up to it, and like just people kind of ideally wanting a Left 4 Dead experience, but not thinking that it's something that they want to play in 2021.
It's such a weird thing because people have such good memories of playing Left 4 Dead, but the question then becomes, are those same people who have the fond memories interested in playing? Like, if they released that game now, would they be as enthusiastic or as excited about it as they were back then?
If it was just like a 1-to-1 like sequel here, like if it was, so Left 4 Dead 2 came out 11 months after Left 4 Dead 1. And I consider it one of the strangest fucking sequels I've ever seen. But
wait, what'd you say, Krispy?
I said that's fucking quick.
That is amazingly quick.
It was
very few games have that kind of turnaround, especially for the quality they put into. Like the only one I can think of that's remarkably notable is Call of Duty 3. That game was, for what they did for that in that time frame, it's kind of amazing.
You also got to remember that was Valve too. Valve, who releases a game every like 18 years. They put out two left.
But this was Valve back in the mid 2000s and the early
when Valve was putting stuff out.
They were putting out shit, man.
I'm trying to get Steam off the ground and everything.
This was after the Orange Box, and TF2 had really taken off at that point. Portal was fucking huge.
Man, Valve
but if
was
this was like
MVPs.
Yeah. If this would have been like a 1-to-1 sequel to Left 4 Dead 2 in just like scope and gameplay elements, I don't think it would do that well today. I think this game really is like going back, looking at that formula and seeing how they could grow it. And this game is really a growth over those originals because
and they had the obvious idea of cards.
Well, cards is one of them. Cards have been a big thing over the recent several years.
Yes,
but more so, like they introduce a proper narrative. It's not just going through mini campaigns and levels and escaping every single fucking time at a finale. No, this is an actual campaign with a story and
characters,
proper characters with banter and backstories and interesting stuff going on. Like the level design is actually surprisingly good. This level I'm playing on right now is called the Clog. The idea is that in the time after the outbreak of this parasite disease, there was kind of like a flood in the recent area, and like everything that was like upstream got like pushed downstream. So it's just like a giant like wall of cars and containers and boats and stuff like that push up against like a dam in the middle of a river. It's pretty cool to kind of navigate and take a look around, see what's there. But like they think Turtle Rock has gone back. They've looked at what made Left 4 Dead 1 and 2 good, and they've pretty much fixed the problems that just really were unbalanced in Left 4 Dead 2, and just made an overall better experience. The variety of infected makes better sense this time around.
It's like
the
how
melee
many infected
combat
were there in Left 4 Dead 2 versus this? I know Left 4 Dead 2 because didn't they have like the same like 5? It was basically regular zombies and then like 5.
Yeah, so
5 specials, right?
Yeah, so Boomer, Smoker, Hunter,
Jackie,
Jockey,
the good old Jockey. I forgot
Spitter.
about Jockey.
There was one oh yeah, Charger.
Witch.
It was the Charger, and then you had the Witch and the Tank, and that was pretty much it. This one, there's 9 special infected that you'll commonly find, like the one that just knocked me off the map and fucking killed me.
Nice.
And they're divided 3 different classes of the gameplay, but that goes more into like the multiplayer experience. But I'll get to that in a second. I think it's a better balance of those zombies, those special class zombies. But there's also boss zombies like the ogre you saw me fighting earlier. There's also a berserker who's like a much smaller version of the ogre, but he's much better armored. And then there's one that roams the map called the Hag, and she's like a roaming witch that will just, if she catches you, she will take you a little bit of a distance, and then she'll just burrow into the ground and take you with her and just fucking kill you.
Oh, like a trimmer, like a trimmer worm into the ground.
Basically, yes.
So when I think about like Left 4 Dead, like, you know, I commonly like think about the more atmospheric kind of emergent moments. Like I always think about like the pacing, like when it would slow down for just a little bit, and all of a sudden you'd be walking with people and there wouldn't be any zombies around, and you'd hear like the crying, like the witch crying or something.
Yeah.
And I remember that being like super creepy. Would you say this game has moments like that where it's like the pace slows down and you have it?
Absolutely. I think a big part of that in this game is combined into the card system with the corruption cards that can happen from the AI director. So like every single level doesn't have a set time of day, doesn't have a set time of weather. And it doesn't have set
time of weather.
Time of weather. It doesn't have set spawns or like set enemies that you will encounter every time. Potentially, every time you play a level, it's going to be in some way different.
Yeah.
And so if you were getting a combination like I've gotten plenty of, in which you are playing a night map with fog, and there's another kind of a special effect that's kind of like a witch, in which you get close enough and they scream and summon hordes of zombies. If you've got those on the map and then you combine that with variations of common infected, like blighted, like in this footage, there are blighted infected. What they do is that their head is filled with acid. So if you actually go for a headshot, like you typically kind of go for in a zombie game, they will explode and they will deliver acid around the area for a little bit.
So you could potentially harm your teammates if they're too close and you take a headshot and stuff like that.
Not to mention just your self too.
Yeah.
There's also a very good amount of randomization when it comes to like pickups and stuff to explore in the environment, because there will be like locked off rooms that'll be locked in one playthrough, but maybe they're not unlocked in another. Or you got to use like a toolkit to open the door. And there's rewards to find there, including cash and special versions of items, attachments for weapons, which you can trade out, cards that you can earn, basic cards, just healing kits, the whole 9 yards. And
I don't remember a ton of how Left 4 Dead 1 and 2 kind of, there wasn't a ton of that randomization, was there?
There was a level of it, but there wasn't much. Like,
it was kind of like enemy placement for the most part, right?
It's mostly enemy placement, yeah. It was always all a set time of day, set weather conditions. Maybe there will be a door or two that's different, and the item placement might be a little different from run to run. But in this, it's a very different run every single time you play it.
It's a very noticeable difference from run to run.
And again, it's not like you're playing through mini campaigns with set you're you're going through a narrative story, and it's broken up into chunks of levels, and it's all set in basically the same region of the world, but you're always doing something different. You're always going for a different objective. There's always, as you progress, there's always something new to go forward to. And another thing I really like...
Go ahead.
I was say another thing I really like about this is that when you are playing this, you're not getting just different levels every time as you progress. Instead, like, you have a hub area, a hub fort where you can run around and test out weapons and build your decks and unlock supply points to get special stuff. But the narrative also takes place from that. So at set points throughout the game, once you've completed a major objective, you'll go back to the fort. And then for the next phase of the campaign, you start from that area and then you go out into town. And things will be different in town. Like, you'll go down a different path to go somewhere else. Or you'll be going to rescue survivors. AI are on the map that you can go out and rescue, and they can help you in the middle of combat. It's various different objectives you can do.
It seems like a pretty big evolution over, like you said, over what Left 4 Dead 1 and 2 essentially were. Dante's has a very important question, though, and I too had this question, and your answer to this question might dictate whether I play this very soon. Is there a gnome that I can carry through the campaign?
If there is, I want to say there is. I haven't seen one. That being said, I wouldn't put it past them to have a gnome in the game.
That is a very Valve thing, right? I don't know if Valve somehow has some kind of like ownership over that, like, that gimmick. So like,
they might have like a Noam Chomsky in here. It may not be called Noam Chomsky. It might be like a lawn dart or something, or a lawn decoration.
I'm not particular about the specifics, as long as it's very clearly riffing on that. You should go look through the achievements and see if there's something listed in there about it, because I would love to give that a shot, especially with members of the community and stuff. And also, this is on Game Pass.
It absolutely is. Like, one of my levels that I really enjoyed was, so there's a segment of the game in which you have to go to the town armory and get weapons and stuff for the group, because a horde of the Ridden have come through and they've started to take over town again. Right. And you go there and it's overrun. There's a nest that's been built there. You got to clear out the nest, and then to get into the armory, it's locked by a fingerprint reader, a hand reader. And the only guy that could get into that got killed somewhere. So you have to go and find his body part. And you can eventually get his arm and use it as a melee weapon. And it's one of the best weapons in the fucking game. It's hilarious.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. The other thing I want to mention, again, I was disappointed in the fact, leading up to the release, that the game did not have a versus campaign mode. That is something I put hundreds of hours in Left 4 Dead 1. Not so much Left 4 Dead 2, because I just don't like Left 4 Dead 2. But for Left 4 Dead 1, oh my God. The Hunter Jesus Leap was one of my favorite things of that generation of video games. But so they don't have that, but they do have the versus mode called Swarm, in which it's set areas of the campaign, just small areas, in which the 4 players try to survive as long as they can, while 4 special infected players try to take them out. And it's a survival match, but they also have like a battle royale style circle that after a certain point starts shrinking over time. So you can't camp a location. You're eventually going to die. There's no way for a survivor to win. So it's really just like trying to run out the clock, and just make certain that in your round you have a higher clock count than the enemy's round, because you trade off.
That's the mode you talked about more last week too.
Yes, and it's you can go back and listen to what I said last week, but it's really, really good. The variety, getting to experience the special infected's perspective and upgrading them and upgrading the common infected through points that you get for damaging survivors. it really creates this flow and experience that feels really good when you have a team together communicating and just trying to strategize how to take them out as fast as you can.
Have you been playing with any of our community?
I
Just out
have.
of curiosity?
I've played with Green Toes. I played with Zerby. I was going to play with Scud tonight, but he was not otherwise available. And I'm forgetting who the other person was. I apologize, but we did have a fourth. But we played through. Yeah, it's really good. It's on Game Pass. Just fucking try it, man.
I downloaded it. I do intend to find some time to play it. I know Jeff has been playing a little bit of it. I don't know if he's still going with it, but I do want to get a team together, especially with some community members as well, and play it sometime soon. There's a lot of stuff I want to play with the community. A lot of stuff during October I want to play, because this is also a good Halloween-y type game.
Yeah, this is Turtle Rock returning to form. This is them learning their mistakes from Evolve and what happened with Left 4 Dead 2, and just taking Left 4 Dead and bringing it back into their fold and saying, what can we do with this that's new and interesting? And this game is new and interesting. So
cool. Well, I'm certainly interested to give it a try myself. Now we need to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll answer some questions. I think we have a game or two more to mention. We'll answer some questions and, of course, wrap up the show with the 4-player minute. So if you're watching us live, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Hello, and welcome to Brad's Weekly Update. I don't think it's going to be a long one this week because I haven't really been playing anything new, but I do have this to try. Monster Mash cereal. Let me tell you, it's been kind of hard to find some Halloween exclusive items, but I did see this at the supermarket. I guess it kind of combines all the, like the Frankenberry and the Count Chocula and stuff into one. So we'll try that here. Let me first tell you about my gaming week. So I haven't been playing much new because I did finish in 100% Metroid Dread, and I did say I would kind of be giving my final thoughts on this episode. And I will say that my opinions of the game aren't all that different than kind of where I was at last week. Ultimately, it is a game I have really, really enjoyed. I love Metroid. This is a good Metroid game. It's Mercury Steam's best game, obviously. And now as far as like some people have asked me where I would rank it, honestly, I'd probably still rank it under a lot of my favorites in the series, like Prime 1 and Prime 2 and Super and Fusion and Zero Mission. But like right around there is probably where I'd place Dread. But you gotta understand, those are all games that I really enjoy. But it's still, I would place definitely above like Other M and you know, Samus Returns. And look, I honestly don't have a lot of fondness for the original Metroid, so I'd probably put it above that. Ultimately, I really enjoyed the game. From a gameplay standpoint, it felt great to play. Difficulty was good. It was challenging. The final boss was really hard. It was fun. 100%ing the game, doing all the Shine Spark puzzles and stuff was really tricky and really fun, but it kind of rewarded longtime Metroid players. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. The reason it might not be as high as the others is because where it was lacking was kind of the stuff I talked about last week, but the big one was world design. I feel like the areas felt really samey and not very distinct from one another. The music I didn't like very much. And, you know, so that sense of atmosphere, I just don't think it was there. Not compared to some of the best games in the series. And to me, that's very important for a Metroid game. And, you know, like my favorite in the series is probably Prime. And, man, it really knocks it out of the park. I've been thinking a lot, actually, and I think I prefer 3D Metroid over 2D Metroid. So I'm pretty excited about Prime 4, and I kind of wish it wasn't stuck on the Switch, because the Switch is pretty weak hardware, and 3D Metroid deserves, you know, the best of the best, right? But other than that, I'm about to start a game called Inscryption. It's like a card game, horror game, but mostly a weird game. It's from the developers of Pony Island. And if you've played that game, you know that this one's going to be weird. And if you watch a trailer for Inscryption with a Y, you'll see that it's a card game that gets weird. It seems like the perfect game to play around Halloween, especially if you like card games like me. So I'll be giving that a try. I'll be talking about that next week. I also recently picked up Ender Lilies for my Switch. I wanted something new to play on my Switch that would also look really good on an OLED. It's a Metroidvania from earlier this year / Souls-like from earlier this year that I hear is quite good. Sort of the type of game that I like, and I've been waiting to play that one. I was waiting for a sale, but I finished Dread and I was like, fuck it, I'll just get it. So I got it. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. There's other little things coming out, but I'll talk about that next week. Let's crack into this Monster Mash cereal, the Monster Mash. I'm a fan of the Monster Mash song. I will say, one of my favorite games from last year that not enough people played was Wasteland 3, and one of the really cool things that Wasteland 3 did is it has a really, really cool soundtrack, and it has these really awesome covers of like a lot of songs, like popular songs like show tunes and stuff. And one of the covers they do is a really sick version of Monster Mash. So if you're in a Halloweeny mood, there's not a lot of go-to Halloween songs, but look up the Wasteland 3 version of Monster Mash. It's like a pretty cool twist on the song. Anyways, this is very red. This cereal is very red. Huh. Whoa. Okay, we got some marshmallows, and we got some red ghosts, some purple ghosts. I've you know what? I'm not one to really typically get those Halloween cereals, so I have no idea. Also, this video is brought to you by Lactaid. I said last time I don't usually drink milk. That's not like soy milk because it fucks me up. But something about like a kid's cereal, I don't really want I don't want to put soy milk in a kid's cereal. Is that weird? I want like regular ass milk. So I'm gonna take my Lactaid. Then I'm gonna pour some milk into this bowl. It's a fresh gallon, so let's not screw this up. Could make a big mess here. I'm not actually super hungry, but this was like the only Halloweeny food item I had in the house for this video, so now I'm eating a bowl of cereal after I already had my lunch. Oh well, fuck it. I'm guessing this is gonna taste kind of like Lucky Charms because it has like those little dry marshmallows. I'm okay with Lucky Charms. They're not bad. I can't imagine Lucky Charms in soy milk, though. Honestly, cereal pieces kind of taste like Captain Crunch a little bit, which is funny because I did one of those earlier this month. Captain Crunch with little marshmallows. Honestly, probably a little too sweet. But it's Halloweeny. I love Halloween. This some people were impressed by my Halloween background. They were like, is that like a fake background? But no, it's real. You can see. Proof is this. You see the tape right there? How it's real shiny in the light. I love Halloween. It does kind of look like a Castlevania stage, and this is a paper lantern with bats on it. Anyways, that's it for this week. Not much more to say. Honestly, it's not like Captain Crunch. It's not as good as Captain Crunch. I don't love this. Probably gonna give this to Henry. The box, I mean, the rest of the box. Anyways, y'all have a good week. We'll see you next week. We have one more episode before Halloween. Maybe we'll get Henry's costume on y'all to see what he's gonna be for Halloween. As far as me, I don't know if I'm going to dress up this year, man. Halloween costumes for grown-ups are expensive, so unless I come up with like a really cool idea that's like affordable and cheap and easy to do, maybe with stuff I have lying around the house, I'm probably not going to dress up. I don't know. We'll see. If you have any ideas, let me know. Anyways, that's it. Bye.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. I realized there was a game that I meant to talk about in the first segment. I completely forgot. We had a lot of games on the dock this week, and I forgot about Chasing Static. I didn't forget about it. I just played it the other night. It was quite good. I don't have a ton to say about it because it is a rather brief experience, and also, you know, it's a Halloween-esque game. It's brief, but it's also one that I don't necessarily want to spoil for anybody because it is rather brief. But it is something I do recommend, especially if you're looking for, some what I would probably describe as a kind of like a comfortable but very atmospheric and chilling horror game. It's not overtly like frightening, it's not overtly threatening, like there's not really enemies that you have to worry about evading or anything like that in this game. It's very story driven, very atmospheric, and also riffing on the atmosphere of like Silent Hill. So if you've been a fan of Silent Hill, it's like that. It's an indie developed game, very very small team, and I finished it on the stream in one sitting. It was like 3 hours, I think, is about how long it took me. So I don't want to give too much away because it is a pretty brief experience, but it's very, very moody and very cool. It has this really nice, like, lo-fi art style to it. I don't know how to describe it.
Half-Life 1 mod art style, really looks to me.
Half-Life 1 mod. I mean, but like not even like that because it's I'm trying to think of something to compare it to because it may not even be coming across super well in the footage, but if you boot it up, it's like very clear. Like I almost want to say voxel, but not voxel based at all. But it has like this very identifiable like texture to it that looks really nice, and it has really cool lighting effects, and it just does. It all comes together with like a nice moody atmosphere and soundtrack to kind of create this really cool mood. But like the game is about this dude who's driving through he just buried his father. His father passed away, and he went to the funeral, and he's driving home, and he ends up getting lost, and he shows up at this diner, and he's trying to get directions, and then some weird shit happens, and he realizes he's like alone in this this place, and like weird shit is happening. There's like these ghostly figures that you're kind of following around, and you're kind of like trying to piece together the story of what happened. But it seems to it kind of becomes clear very early that like there's an experiment. There's like a scientific experiment going on in this small town, or this on the outskirts of this small town, and they were trying to maybe, it sounded to me like they were trying to like they were trying to figure out ways to actually communicate with the other side, quote unquote, like the dead. And something went wrong. Weird shit happens, and you're trying to piece that together and what it means for you and why you're involved. Kind of like the main mechanic of the game, though, is like you pick up this. You eventually find this like audio tool that kind of lets you it's like a radio, but you kind of like tune into signals that kind of pick up like, I don't know how to describe it. Like you're tuning into like conversations and events that happened in the past, and you kind of have to search this big open area to find them and figure out what's happening on this island. It's a really cool effect. Like when you pull out the little your carry, you can see it in the footage that that's rolling right now. You had this like portable radio and this like microphone that you kind of point in directions, but when you activate it, it's like you're putting on headphones, so everything becomes like super muffled. So you can't really hear what's going on around you, but you're just trying to find these like echoes of conversations and events, and some of them are rather grim and fucked up. And you just kind of go down this rabbit hole until you figure out what the fuck's going on. But it was really, really, really cool. And I do highly recommend it, especially if you're just looking for like an easy like horror experience. You can sit down, beat in one sitting, but get like the full like the mood, the Halloween spooky mood. I don't know how else to describe it, but very cool. Highly recommend it. It came out last week, I think. Like I said, small team that worked on this, but it's very good, very very good.
Okay.
And Jeff is in chat. He calls it low poly is probably the best way to describe the art style, and I think he's probably right. Krispy, didn't you have? Okay, you've also been playing another game that you wanted to give quick impressions on, right? Tainted
Tainted
Grail.
Grail, Tainted Grail Conquest.
Yes.
Yes.
Which I believe Brad's playing too, right? I think, maybe.
Yeah, he is. And he's probably played a lot more of it than I have, but I have put in like 5 or 6 hours, something like that, with it so far. It is very cool. It's very interesting. I guess the quick pitch for it is it's Slay the Spire meets like Diablo 2, you know?
Wow, those are both games that I know Brad has spent like hundreds of hours.
Yeah, I mean, it's
hours
definitely
playing.
much more Slay the Spire, but it does have. I mean, in terms of like atmosphere and setting, it's very kind of like Diablo-esque. And it does have a really interesting cast of like different character classes that you unlock as you play through the game, like a bunch of them. Whereas in Slay the Spire, there's like 4, I think, by the time you get to the end of that, right? Something like that.
I don't know for sure because I never played it.
There's like 8 or I don't know. There's more. There's like 8 in this one. There's a lot, and they all function in really like interesting different ways. From like very straightforward like martial characters that revolve around mechanics of like building up shields to take hits, and dealing like large burst damage, to like it seems like a couple different types of summoners. Like I have one summoner already where I can like summon these monstrosities that all do different things, and then uh your deck is built mostly around summoning and then activating all of your summons. So you're very hands off, and you're kind of like you have this like whole front line of monsters that you're dealing with. But there's stuff I haven't even unlocked yet that I really want to try. Like there's a blood mage and like a necromancer and like all kinds of weird shit in there, and it looks fucking sick. And it is so when I say it's like Diablo like, imagine kind of like that top down isometric map from like a Diablo game. But it's arranged in such a way that everything falls along paths, kind of like what we were talking about earlier with Inscryption, in that very roguelite sort of progress map, where it's like you've got a couple different paths you can go, and they all kind of interconnect, and you're kind of choosing different ways to move around. What is interesting about that is 2 things. First of all, when you're in that map, you're out in that world. We have a mechanic very similar to the torch mechanic from Darkest Dungeon, right? Do you remember in Darkest Dungeon you had to keep torches lit, and they would continuously burn as you were moving through the map? And at different threshold levels of light, you could experience different effects, right? So in this game, instead of darkness, what you're dealing with is this like kind of metaphysical, magical field called the weird, or the weirding, or something like that.
Weirding.
And you're using like WYR. I mean, like in the very like old school sense of the term, like weirding,
This is a new word for me. I'm gonna look this up.
And no, it's not, Nick. It's in Dune. You're listening to Dune right now. The Bene Gesserit are trained in the weirding way. Come on, Nick. Oh, whatever. Anyway. Oh, I hate you. I fucking hate you. You're the worst. But you use these magic torches to kind of keep that at bay, right? To keep a bubble of stable reality around you. Because if you let that get too close to you, then like weird shit starts coming out of it, right? And it'll do things like when you're in a match, like when you're in a game and you're fighting enemies and you're pulling cards from your deck and playing them, if you don't have a high enough like that burn level, which is still ticking in fights, it'll start throwing what they call weird cards into your hand. And then it's like you have to play, and they usually have an effect where it's like, play it right now and this happens, or if you don't play it this turn and discard this card, something else is going to happen next turn. And sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad, sometimes you'll get weird cards that are both good effects, sometimes they're both bad effects, but I think it has to be kind of low for that to happen. So it's this extra level of chaos and resource management of just like keeping these torches burning to keep your strategy and your gameplay as like standard as possible, without having to deal with too much RNG. And the other aspect of the map that is interesting, like I was saying, is that you actually have a lot of freedom in this map to kind of like, because the actual like the encounter nodes are like physically placed nodes on the map, you can kind of like skirt around them and like move around and like kind of scout things out a little bit more before you're deciding which encounters you want to use. At least in the early game, the first couple maps, that is pretty easy to do. I don't know if that changes later, but it adds this interesting kind of like holisticness to a roguelike map where it's more like, okay, I can go over here and do something and then come back over here and do this if I think it'll be beneficial, or I can kind of bypass stuff and go right to the boss if I think that it would be better to be at like full strength for that, Mm-hmm. Yeah, loving the back and forth here, Nick.
Sorry,
you sound
I'm
so excited.
I'm still trying to figure out what weirding means. I'm gonna be honest. I googled the word weirding with a Y, and nothing tells me what the word means. Just a lot of different things that you.
I don't know, man. It's like I don't know. It's some. I don't know. Who fucking cares, Nick?
Be my dictionary. Tell me what weirding means.
I don't know. I just think it's like some old Gaelic
why is it
word
weird
or something.
that I don't know?
It's weird you don't know because you're reading a book where like the term weirding is like a central plot point. You're 22 chapters. Okay. Anyway, I'm not. Whatever. Whatever. Like, you're actually making me angry, Nick. I'm gonna fucking fight you.
I'm sorry. I'm not.
Hey. Oh, Christ.
What?
Nothing. Would this be a terrible time to mention that I forgot to hit record?
No. Hit record. We'll figure it out.
Okay, my bad. Sorry. But yeah, anyway, it's really fun. I don't know. I wish Brad was here to talk about it cuz I feel like he could take some of the raw data I'm dumping and like maybe shape it into
textualize it. I don't know.
Yeah. It's fun.
I mean, it's been on my radar for a while. Just because it kind of encompasses a lot of things that I like. Like I didn't play a lot of Darkest Dungeon or Slay the Spire, but like both those games like appeal to me in like a kind of a like dark way, So like getting both those in a game.
You guys don't play those games. Fuck's sake, man.
I mean, I'm over here like, is now a good time to tell Krispy that I still haven't played Darkest Dungeon? I am ashamed of it. I'm absolutely fucking ashamed of it because every time I see Darkest Dungeon come up, I'm like, ooh, that looks cool. I should play that. And
you know what?
Doesn't happen.
It is cool.
Just had a thought. Darkest Dungeon on Switch would probably be a great game to play on the OLED because of the high contrast on the OLED screen.
I love how hardware gets you so horny for games you otherwise wouldn't care about.
It's to say that I wouldn't care about
Darkest Dungeon. You're right.
Probably not fair.
Unfair.
I feel like I would actually probably love that game if I would just.
Right, but it's the like, oh, I have the OLED screen, so now I have an excuse to play it.
Hey man, we justify things in the weirdest ways. It's just the way it goes.
I guess. I don't know, man. Anyway, this has been my weird rant about a game that deserves much better than me. So
I do wish I could give more insight into it. I just, like I said, when you were talking about Inscryption, I'm looking at Inscryption as like, oh, that's like an entry level card game, and now we're on the opposite end of that spectrum, and we're talking about like heavy duty card games, and I'm like, I don't know.
it's not. I mean, did you play Slay the Spire?
No.
It's exactly like that.
I
Oh.
know. What do you? Did I play Slay the Spire? I can't believe you would even ask me that. Of course not. Of course not. What do you think I am, Brad?
This sucks. This sucks, man.
I'm
Anyway,
so sorry. Well,
No, you're not.
what do you say? What do you say we distract Krispy from his anger and we answer a few questions from our supporters on Patreon and Twitch? How does that sound?
Let's do it.
This is normally where I would hand it off to Nolan and he would do it, but Nolan's not here because
He was
didn't
supposed to be
update
here.
He didn't update the doc correctly, Nolan. So I'm gonna start with an easy one tonight from the Drunken Merchant. This might not be an easy one. It's just a very brief question. What is your favorite video game studio name of all time? Sorry, that might actually be a difficult one. Yeah,
Wow.
Whoa!
You know, I mean, this is a pandering answer, but like, I really like what Jeff and Bob and Joseph came up with Next Gen Pants because that's just Next Gen Pants, man. That's a great.
We're good.
That's a fantastic name.
Since this is podcast number 699, I think I'm just going to give it to Neversoft.
Neversoft.
Yes.
What does that have to do with 699?
699. Nick, God damn it.
Am I
69?
Penis joke.
Penis.
That was a bit of a stretch there. That was a bit of a stretch, Chris Davis.
Never.
I think Arcane is a cool name.
Arcane's a good
Arcane
name.
is
With
Arcane.
a K.
I was also thinking of like Moby Dick Studios.
I think,
but that's not even a real studio. That was a fake name
studio.
for Kojima Productions.
Yeah.
Outer Wilds' studio is Mobius Studios, which is also a cool name.
I think armature is one of those ones where it's like, that's a cool word, but if you think about it, it's like, why the fuck are you called armature?
There's probably a lot of that out there. Oh god, Tango Gameworks, man.
Dude, Team Eco.
Tango?
I kind of like that idea of like the development teams that are just named after the like specific games that they make.
The game that put them on the map.
Yeah.
Like Team Silent for Silent Hill.
Right.
Had a conversation in Discord this past week, and Brad kind of brought it to my attention. There was like a YouTube like documentary about Team Silent and how Team Silent itself is not really even a studio that actually exists. It's more of just kind of like, it's just kind of a name that the industry has given them to kind of allude to the talent that
whoever is working there at the time.
Yeah, exactly. Which is also in and of itself a very strange thing. But yeah, I think if I had to pick one, I'm gonna go with Tango Gameworks. I think that's a cool name. But yeah,
Bungie.
Any
Bungie's just a
Bungie.
fun word to say.
Yeah, fair enough.
Bungie.
I'll accept that answer over your Neversoft answer.
Okay.
Yep. I was trying to think of this. I'm just real quick looking at like what's coming out for the end of the year and just looking at the developer names. Like, Drinkbox Studios, fun. I like fun names that don't also sound lame. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Next question from Gamerbeck says, "What do you think the next big jump, quote unquote, will be for video games after virtual reality tech? You may answer realistically or go for your wildest gaming fantasy."
And I'm looking down at the floor where my VR headset is, and I really wish there was like
More to play on it.
Not just like more than just like experiences or like cool uses of the technology, but more like kind of like I'm thinking like Sword Art Online kind of like style where you're like fully in, you know? like more immersive gameplay,
like more video game-ass video games to
Like,
play.
yeah.
Plug your nervous system into this
Yeah.
video game.
Yeah, that kind of stuff, or like Ready Player One kind of style.
The
thing.
Matrix is the
I mean-
touchstone here, guys.
You know,
Ready
you're
Player
right.
One.
You're not wrong. I mean, like, I'm starting to think about this. Like, we have.
I'm not gonna let Ready Player One become the new analog for this thing.
Yeah, it will remain the Matrix forever.
The
No, like,
Matrix!
I'm thinking about this. Like the Matrix is making a comeback, right? And we have VR headsets, right? Like, imagine if they made a Matrix game today, but fully taking advantage of like the headset as like a means of plugging in to the Matrix. Like, what if it was even split? It's like when you're not in the Matrix, you're playing on your desktop, like it's like a PC game you're playing it, but when you go into the Matrix, you have to put a VR headset on and go into it. Like like cool shit like that. Also, I'm just thinking about like some of the weird tech we started to see before virtual reality kind of came into its own, like, you know, the heartbeat sensor and like all like that kind of weird shit, like
the motion
didn't even come
board
out,
and
did
stuff
it?
like that.
yeah, sort of like combine like, like I don't necessarily think it has to be a completely, because I think VR is a major, I mean, it's obviously a major piece of technology, and it's slowly becoming more and more prominent, but like I don't want to just move on from VR and go to the next thing. I would just want to see them find ways to kind of accentuate that and make it feel more and more immersive. So I don't know what form that would take, but you know, just make it better.
I think that maybe the next big thing could be an evolution of the control experience with a VR game. So I don't. Other than
When you
Nick,
say control, do you mean like the game control or controller? Like
Controller.
What do you say?
like I don't know if anybody else has used an index controller from Valve.
I've just held the one that you brought over to Nolan's
Okay.
that one time.
Using that, and how it's like the anti version of one of those controllers to where you're strapped in and you're not having to hold onto it, and the capacity to touch in there for grabbing objects and interacting with things, like that's great technology, and I look forward to trying it out more with that. But like the next logical step with that, with getting that haptic feedback of interacting with objects, like
You know what?
if I can move a controller forward, or have my controller move it forward, and I can feel the feedback in which I'm like touching a wall, or
Kind of like the
something like
PlayStation
that.
5 controller kind of feel, but like applied to the controllers that you're holding in your hands for VR, basically.
Yeah, in a way.
But you're
um,
asking for like resistance when you push on something or something like that, or what?
You know, I'm thinking about what you're
I hadn't thought
describing.
about that
and I'm
aspect, but kind of, yeah, that as well.
Mhm.
I'm thinking about what you're describing, and I'm also like we're talking about the next evolution of like controllers, like, and combining it with VR. Like, what if the next major step would be like, instead of a controller, it's like actual like gloves, but so you can actually like, you know, have like full range of motion with your hands and your fingers and whatnot, and that would translate into the game, and then also and have like built-in haptic feedback, kind of like
Right.
what Ed was describing, where it gives you resistance and that kind of. So instead of actually holding something, it's more of like the VR headset presents to you what you're doing, and then you just interact with it with your hands, like you would. It would be kind of hard because, you know, you feel kind of silly like holding a gun, but there's actually nothing in your hand. So I'm not really sure how they would do that. But like you also got to be careful, because at some point you can go way too far, and it could just get ridiculous. Like I always remember like going to E3 and seeing there's one side of the hall that has like all the silly stuff. Well, I mean, it's cool tech, but it's like no one would ever like. I remember seeing the guys that had this like thing they were standing in, and it had like a treadmill on it, and
Like
they had
the
like
Omni something.
The
Yeah.
Omni move
so they're
thing,
playing
yeah.
like first person shooters, and they have like the gun in their
And
hands.
you're like running and stuff.
And they're like running on like a thing.
Yeah.
I was like, it's like, what are you gonna put that in your living room? Like,
Well,
Yeah.
it's more to the point with that, like, with that thing is that, yeah, the technology is a fucking great idea, but here's the thing. When you're playing a video game, you don't want to be fucking running. Like, you're gonna walk around that for 10 minutes, and then
Some
you're gonna want to
people
go
do.
sit the fuck down.
Tell that to people who, tell that to people like Ring Fit became a huge thing. I mean, there is definitely a market for people who want to like get a workout with their games, but it's also just, but you don't want to pay it, like, you don't want to pay the cost of a fucking treadmill. You know what I mean? Maybe some people
also
do.
the fact, like, again, if you're so many games these days are built around speed, and getting to places as fast as possible. And if you have to constantly fucking run, just move around, that's a misuse of the technology. You're just going to end up alienating people from actually using what you're trying to sell them.
Right. So real quick, I don't normally do this, but we have a subscriber in chat who asked a question, and I normally read these directly from the forum thread. But Funky Duck is in chat, and he is a Twitch subscriber, and he asked the question, so I'm gonna humor him. He says, "What's up, motherfuckers? I'm from New Zealand, the greatest country ever. What country would you most like to visit?"
I mean, New
Australia.
Zealand.
Yeah, New Zealand's a good option, but
yeah, New Zealand.
I think like in my top 3, Australia, Japan, and Italy are up there for me.
I would like to go to Korea.
Korea would be cool.
Or Germany.
South
Korea or South Korea. Or Germany. I don't know. I've always heard Germany is pretty lit.
Yeah.
Sweden.
Sweden.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sweden
man.
would be cool in the summer, like going in the south and going up into the fjords and stuff. Yeah, totally.
Yep.
Man, I don't know. I mean, I have always wanted to go to Japan. I feel like that's a pretty common answer. Ed mentioned Australia. That would be really cool too. Although they have lots of insects there, I don't really want to encounter. But it looks like a beautiful country. I would love to go. Man, I mean, I haven't even been to Europe, so I feel like I gotta at least. I don't know.
I've never left the country, so I'm not that far behind you.
Oh, well, I have left the country before, so maybe Chris Davis, you should leave the country. Weird saying it. You should leave the country, Chris, right now. Yeah. I don't know. I'm gonna stew on that one. I'll come back if something pops in. I haven't been to France. I haven't been to Italy. I mean, I would want to go to, anywhere over there in that general area would be cool. Rome would be really cool. Let's see.
I mean, Nolan's done the whole tour in Europe, so he'll tell you exactly.
I know. I've been to China. That was fun. That was one of the coolest experiences of my life.
That was before like most Americans really, really hated China. So
yeah,
you got it. You got in there under the wire there.
I got in there when it was cool. Our next question comes from Gigamir. He says, "Should Konami seriously consider consulting Hideo Kojima before releasing future Metal Gear titles?"
No.
And this is also kind of
I don't care.
This is tied to a kind of a news topic. It sounds like Konami is starting to seriously consider getting back into major AAA video game development, but it sounds like they're taking a different approach. Primarily, it seems like they're going to be outsourcing a lot of the that to other companies. So that's why there's talking about new Metal Gears in development, new Castlevanias, new Silent Hills, apparently all in development at various studios. But the question of whether he's asking us if we think Konami. I know realistically speaking, the answer is no. But do we think Konami should consider consulting Kojima? Because it's just from the point of view of what would a Metal Gear game without Kojima's involvement even look like? Would it even be something we would want?
We've seen that. It exists.
Are you talking about Metal Gear Survive? Is that what you're talking about?
That is, yes. That is a Metal Gear game without Kojima.
Imagine if it's not Metal Gear Survive though. Like imagine if it's like actually a single player game or what.
Like Metal Gear Solid 6 was
like
would they be announced.
I guess would they like they would have to rein in the scope, right, of a new Metal Gear game, because 5 just kind of blew it out of the water as far as scope is concerned. And so if they're gonna rein it back, then like the stuff that Kojima would add would be like the quirky stuff, right? Not necessarily
that's become so like synonymous with the series at this point. Like,
right.
so
So
you,
like
you
if you use them as like an idea shop, basically, like you consulted him just for ideas of like quirky weird stuff to put in the game or and things like that, then I think that could work. But like having him be in charge of the entire vision is just going to go down the same hole that they left parted ways in the first place, right?
I think the use of the word consulting is important, because there's never going to be a situation where Kojima is suddenly directing a new Metal Gear game. That's not going to happen. But like there are on a tangentially related, like with this Konami news, a lot of rumors are swirling, like heavily substantiated rumors are swirling about Silent Hill as a franchise and how there are multiple games in development, and they're all from one of them is a Western studio, one of them is a high profile Japanese studio, which has a lot of people curious as to whether they've partnered with Kojima Productions to do a Silent Hill game, which would be it's essentially, I don't know if it's Silent Hills or if it's just them trying to kind of like right that wrong. You know what I mean? Like it's
nothing trying to right or wrong. They have no interest in putting in that AAA dollar value.
No. Saying they're trying to right a wrong was a poor way of putting it. Konami doesn't care if they're righting a wrong, but they would be, like, you got to imagine, like, if they were to announce a new Silent Hill game, what better way to reinvigorate that franchise than to announce a new game in the franchise and also say we've partnered with Kojima Productions, because it comes with all the baggage of Silent Hills and how everybody was so pissed about how that happened. It's like, so they're not trying to right a wrong, but they are trying to capitalize on like how the excitement and just people would lose their minds. People would freak the fuck out if they said Silent Hill is coming back with Kojima Productions at the helm of one of the games. And like, I could see Konami doing that.
I can't see them doing it at all. 0% chance of that.
I mean, we know they're working with a prominent Japanese studio. It's like, how many prominent Japanese studios are there at this point?
There's
that would work
dozens
on a game
over there, man.
That would work on Silent Hill?
Sure.
The way it's talking about it so far, it sounds very specifically like it would be a Japanese studio that is like well known and celebrated in the West. And I don't feel like there's a ton that fit the bill for that. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
I mean, it could be anything. They could outsource it to fucking Capcom or Square Enix or who knows, whatever. But the thing is that they don't give a shit about their reputation within the gaming space anymore.
No, they don't.
They don't. If they would have done something in the past 5 years beyond just doing fucking Metal Gear Survive. And they only did fucking Metal Gear Survive because they invested so much fucking money into Metal Gear Solid 5. They wanted more on their return with that. So that what they did was they made a cash grab game that uses one of the same fucking maps line for line. They added a fog filter and did a little bit of base building. That was the one thing that was new, and that was it. Like the rest, it was a fucking cash grab game.
I know, but that was also released at a time when they were seriously talking about getting out of game development, period, like altogether. Now we're having the opposite side of that, which is them saying we're getting back into it. So I don't know what to think.
I don't think they're willing to put the money forward about it. Like they want to do the minimum investment possible to get the maximum return, and they don't give a shit about their reputation now. So,
that's why they're outsourcing. And our last question tonight comes from. He wants me to read this name. This is Scud, but he wrote. Vaxxed, waxed, and forced to use the form by Nick. He wanted me to read that. He asked the question in Discord. I told him to use the form, buddy, and he used the form. His question for us tonight is favorite handheld experience on Switch for when watching TV or other mindless binging. My personal faves are Kingdom 2 Crowns, which we have a few community members intrigued with, or Stardew Valley. Think what's comfy and low commitment.
I don't play this on the Switch, but I do play this game like that, and it's available on the Switch. Hades.
Yes. Yeah. Hades is
Hades
great.
is a good one because it's not a lot of like real like story beats or anything like that.
Well, I will say this:
there's
Robin's
occasional
playing
one,
Hades. Robin's playing Hades right now, and she is taking in a lot of the story beats of that game. But like the first few times I watched her play it, she was kind of. It was when she was still kind of getting used to it, and she was like kind of trying to get into the dungeons and whatnot, and she was skipping some of the dialogue, and it hurt my soul. I was like, no, don't. The dialogue in this game is so good. And that's like maybe the only reason I would say maybe not Hades, because I like to listen to every one of those characters talk every time, and trying to like pay attention to them while watching TV or whatnot seems like it'd be really. But I'm also coming at it from someone who doesn't split their attention while they're watching TV. I don't typically play games while I'm doing other things, so what do I know?
Yeah.
Fuck me, Chris Davis. What do you got?
I don't play my Switch handle at all. It's always docked, so I don't have an answer for that question.
All right. Well, Ed's frozen, so I don't think Ed can answer.
He's asleep. He's not frozen. He's just gone to bed.
Oh no, that's unfortunate. Well,
we would ask Nolan if he was here, but evidently
we would ask Nolan if he was here. Yeah. Man, damn. I thought Ed would bounce back from this being frozen in Discord by now, but he hasn't. So we're gonna move on. Guys, thanks for writing in. If you have any questions you want us to answer on a future episode of the show, just go to discord.gg/4player, find the supporters channel. If you're a subscriber on Twitch or Patreon, you should have access. The forum that I mentioned is pinned in that channel. Just go leave a question there, and we will get to it on a future episode. Man, he's still frozen for y'all?
Yeah?
Yeah. For sure.
Damn, frozen as fuck. Well, let's go ahead and wrap the show up with the 4-player minute. Ed was all prepared, and he had a 4-player minute laid out. I hope he's back.
Oh, that sucks.
In time to do it. But I guess with that, Chris Davis, care to start us out this week?
Okay. My hype this week is for Halo Infinite. They're starting to tease. So Microsoft's doing a 20th anniversary stream for the Xbox brand on November 15th. And ahead of that, they're starting to talk about more aspects of the game and what's coming at launch, what's not coming at launch. And what's not coming at launch doesn't bother me. I'm fine with co-op not being there. Ray tracing, I'm going to play on an Xbox. I don't give a shit. It's fine. And there goes Ed. He's gone. And like, I'm just glad there's a fucking Halo game coming out, and I just want to play it, man. I just want to play a new fucking Halo game. It's time. It's time. My sweat goes to Battlefield 2042. So the feedback from the community after the beta for the game was not great. A lot would say it was not good, and even go beyond that. And I'm not certain. So there have been some post-beta questionnaires and surveys that they have sent out to select members of the community about things. And some of the questions have been asking about like what people felt about operators and whether they should just not be part of the core experience. But they just released a trailer like either today or yesterday showing off the 5 other specialists that are supposed to be in the launch version, and it doesn't feel like they're taking feedback to heart with that beta, and that's kind of a bad sign.
So, sorry to interject, but I saw this. I haven't looked at it, but I saw they released like a list of changes they've made today as a direct result of feedback from that beta? Have you looked through that yet?
I've looked through it. It's nothing really substantial. A lot of it is like kind of stuff that was obviously not in the beta that's going to be in the final game. And adjustments for like the tornado has a higher percent chance of spawning on the map now, for example.
People just want them tornadoes.
Yeah, people want the fucking tornadoes because that was the best fucking looking part of all the marketing material. And I played 10 hours of that fucking beta. I saw a tornado once and it spawned off map. Like, it was just so disappointing. It's just, I don't really feel like at launch the game is going to be where I think it needs to be. My thank you goes to Eric Barron. He is the sole developer behind Concerned Ape. Today, he announced his new game, which is called The Haunted Chocolatier. It's
Stardew Valley, but you make chocolate.
You are a guy who's living in a haunted mansion somewhere, and you have been hired to be a chocolatier. So you're running like an item shop where you sell and make chocolate. And you know what? Fucking great. I'm glad he still wants to support Stardew Valley, which is 5 years old at this point, but he's moved on to something new, and I'm glad. Good for him. And my fuck you.
This does look very Stardew Valley, though, by the way.
No, it's the same fucking art style, 100%. Yeah. And good on him for finding something that works and sticking with it. My fuck you this week should be pretty fucking obvious, though. It goes to Ubisoft. Because earlier this week at 6 a.m., I was messaged by Jaeger, who told me, oh my God, there's a Splinter Cell that's in early development. Okay. I accept into my life that there's a new Splinter Cell game coming. Splinter Cell 7, this probably is. And it's in early development. We would be lucky if it got formally announced next year. But I don't trust modern Ubisoft one bit. I don't fucking trust them. They have fucking screwed over Ghost Recon. They have warped Rainbow Six into something that doesn't even resemble what the series used to be. And they can't finish a fucking project. Like they didn't finish their fucking pirate game. They haven't finished Beyond Good and Evil 2. Who knows if that's even still a fucking video game at this point?
To be fair, you picked two games that, I mean, Ubisoft finishes plenty of games.
Which pirate game?
Like
Skull and Bones?
Skull and Bones.
Yeah. Oh, that
pirate
multiplayer. Oh, the multiplayer
it's a
one?
pirate ship game.
Yeah, it was a
Yes.
The multiplayer like Black Flag naval combat.
Right.
Yeah. They still haven't fucking finished that thing.
What did happen to them?
I mean,
evidently,
it's gone through development hell a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's an understatement for what some of the reports are about.
As I understand it, they've had to go back to the drawing board like twice on that game.
Right.
Yeah. And nobody can figure out what the fuck to do with it. I don't fucking trust modern Ubisoft. So Carlos started tweeting about Splinter Cell earlier this week, and I tweeted back, and we had a good conversation. And I checked my notifications today, and the voice actor for Sam Fisher in Rainbow Six Siege liked a couple of my tweets. And his name is Jeff Terravane. I don't know who he is or what else he's voiced. Who knows if he's a good actual voice actor? No offense, man, if you're listening, but I want Michael Ironside. I want that man back. Michael Ironside is Sam Fisher. I'm sorry, man, but you're not.
I don't.
Wow.
Oh shit! Damn! Direct message. Shots fired across the bow. Oh my god!
Let me put it this way.
Wow.
In the last piece of actual fucking Splinter Cell stuff before Rainbow Six Siege was a one mission expansion for Ghost Recon Wildlands. And it featured Michael Ironside voicing Sam Fisher. And you didn't play as him. And it had that like memed up cathartic scene of like Sam Fisher realizing that Solid Snake and Snake have been retired, and that he's the last one doing stealth games, and it's such a sad fucking moment.
But is he though?
But here's the thing: in the marketing up for that event, like they were trying to downplay the fact that they changed actors for Blacklist, and Michael Ironside says, "I am Sam Fisher. That never changed. I am always going to be Sam Fisher." And then 2 years later, they come out with this Rainbow Six Siege voice actor who's different. Like, I don't know. Fuck you, Ubisoft. You can't be trusted.
I feel like didn't we have a conversation once about Michael Ironside, how maybe there's some other things in his life that prevent him from being, I don't know. I don't want to get into that. I feel like that man might have some problems, I don't know, that might be keeping him from doing voice acting much these days.
His only problem is that he's old. He's in his late 70s, I think.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
But like he's done movies recently, like live action movies where he starred in them.
Chris Davis, would you be?
Oh my god!
I just realized I looked at that screenshot of Sneakers. Is he in Sneakers?
Michael Ironside?
Yes.
No.
Oh, I thought I saw him on the screenshot for that box when I looked at it on Letterboxd a minute ago. Never mind. I was like, is that why you're trying to get me to watch Sneakers? Because it has Sam Fisher in it? Okay.
Well, you heard it here first, everyone. When Michael Ironside passes away, there will be no more Splinter Cell games. Ever.
Let it die. Let it fucking die. Let it end. I'm fine with that.
Dude, I was watching that Netflix show, The Movies That Made Us, and on the episode about RoboCop, they said that he was one of the actors that originally auditioned to be RoboCop, but they didn't hire him because he said that he wanted the movie rewritten so that RoboCop had a harem.
What?
This is so funny.
Here's the thing though, is that's a Paul Verhoeven film. I wouldn't put it past him to actually consider that.
No.
So I have a question, Chris Davis. Chris Davis.
This Paul Verhoeven hate.
Serious question, because like every day for the past like 16 years or however long it's been, you've been like, Splinter Cell's dead. Why can't they make a Splinter Cell game? And now that it seems like they're making a Splinter Cell game, you're telling me that if Michael Ironside isn't in it, you don't want it at all. So like, are you telling me you would rather not have like another Splinter Cell Blacklist?
I'm not saying that I wouldn't play a new Splinter Cell and I wouldn't look forward to a new Splinter Cell. But at this point in time, in which it's only an unconfirmed rumor, and based on Ubisoft's track record of the past 5 years, I don't fucking trust them.
That's fair. I was just trying to get to the I was trying to get down to the nitty gritty of how much you care about Michael Ironside, and like if that was the only thing that, if it was like a honest to God Splinter Cell game, just Michael Ironside wasn't involved,
I would play it. I absolutely would play it. I would put my $69.99 towards it. Yes, I would buy it. I would be disappointed if it wasn't Michael Ironside. If it's this Jeff guy, sure. I've seen some of the trailer. He's okay. But
damn, this is savage.
There's no reason for them to market that fucking DLC for Ghost Recon in that way that they did if they weren't going to incorporate him in some way.
Fair enough. Thank you, Chris Savage Davis. All right, Ed, welcome back. You're having some issues.
Yeah, just hopefully things stick together in the next few minutes. So,
all right, why don't you go ahead and do your 4-player minute?
Great. My first hype, just arriving today, is Tales of Arise.
Hell yes.
I haven't even taken the plastic off. That's why it's so shiny. Since I finished Outer Wilds DLC, that's my next thing up on my list, so I'm getting really excited about that. My second hype is today, after approximately, actually it's been 15 months since I bought my new gaming PC, and I have been trying to get my hands on a new NVIDIA graphics card since they came out, and today I managed to get myself a 3080 Founders Edition, and
Nice.
and it's gonna be at Best Buy on Monday to be picked up, and
Beautiful.
I got it MSRP, so I didn't spend like a buttload of money. It's like all my patience finally paid off. So
on a related note, just to anybody out there who's struggling, I've had because I got my 3070 via the Newegg Shuffle, and some people have been like, I don't know if I want to go through the trouble because Newegg Shuffle's not a guarantee or anything. I have a friend who just got a 3070. Just not 3070 Ti, but just regular 3070. But he got it on the Newegg Shuffle as well. And somebody else,
I think demand is starting to trickle off.
Yeah, but like I've talked to several people, even within our own community, who have gotten one through the Newegg Shuffle. So it's kind of like it may seem very daunting at first because you don't feel like you're guaranteed one. But like if you do it enough days, the odds are in your favor. You'll probably eventually get something. So.
Chris,
they
rarely have
PS5s
on the Newegg Shuffle. Chris, you really should take advantage of it.
Yeah. We'll get there. Do it.
My sweat is for the fact that I just bought a $750 graphics card, and the new MacBooks look really, really cool. And I have a 6-year-old MacBook Pro over here that is starting to show its age, and so I really want one of those. And the ABS light on my car is lit up, and so I need to maybe get a new braking module in my car, which could cost thousands of dollars. So basically, I'm
you're going broke.
I'm going broke. Yeah. My second sweat is for the fact that I haven't started Metroid Dread yet because I've been balls deep in Fire Emblem 3 Houses, and like I'm at chapter 17 out of like 22 of this route that I'm on, and it's like, and that I earlier there was that question about like what's a good game to play on the couch or whatever. Fire Emblem is that because between the chapters that have the story, you just have like these kind of filler days, and so there's a lot of hours in each chapter, unlike previous Fire Emblem games, and so I'm just like tweaking my team to get them at the perfect class they're going to get into and stuff like that. So basically I bought Metroid Dread when it came out on the day that the Switch game came out, and I was like, I pulled it out of the package. I was like, oh, I'll stop playing Fire Emblem for this, and that hasn't.
I was about
yet.
to say, I was like, are you telling me you have Metroid Dread and you haven't played it, or you just haven't bought it yet?
Oh yeah, it's in the Switch case right next to it. So
shameful bastard.
And then finally, my fuck you goes to Nintendo for the online pass expansion bullshit that they announced. They announced the price of it. It costs $25 a year on top of your subscription already, and and the way I guess they justify that price is that they're including the Animal Crossing DLC in it. And it's like, so I'm gonna pay for a game that I don't play, and two, like I have to pay continuously for this DLC forever if I want to play it. I think they said that it's like sold separately, but then like what's the point of having it included in the expansion pass then? Then it's just $25 for N64 games that I am probably just going to emulate instead of playing on the Switch. I would love to play on my Switch.
I think that DLC,
I would love to.
I think that DLC actually is $25 separately.
Yeah, I know. But like the 25, so if that's the case, then $25 a year to play Nintendo 64 and Sega Genesis games, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense if that's the pricing.
Nintendo making a decision about online service, it doesn't make sense.
I'm on it. Honest to God, I think they priced themselves out of most people going for that expansion pack for the N64 games. It's like I just now I have no desire to do that unless they drop the price point down to $10 a year just for that and they remove the Animal Crossing thing. Then maybe I'll think about it. But like it really annoyed me.
There have been suggestions that the reason why the expansion pass is so expensive is because of they had to pay higher licensing fees to Sega.
Oh, great. Cool. That's fantastic, but it prices me out. And so like unless if they start if like tomorrow or next year they announce GameCube games and like Game Boy Advance, Game Boy games, and stuff like that coming to the Switch, and they include it in that expansion pass without a price increase, then we can talk. But until then, I'm out.
I hear that, Nintendo.
I'd rather just buy them separately.
I'd rather.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to have that option, Chris Davis. Honestly, I would. And that's what they did on the Wii U, and I think they just didn't see as much of an uptick on purchases there, and so that's why they decided to go.
Nobody bought a Wii U.
Yeah,
literally nobody bought a Wii U.
Sure, but if you're looking at like sales of games, you know how many systems you've sold, and so you also know the conversion rate of sales on these old games as well. And so they're looking at the math wise that the subscription will get them more conversions and more revenue, basically.
Yeah.
So it's not just about that no one bought the Wii U; it's that they not a large percentage enough of the Wii U install base were buying these games.
Right. Yeah. I mean, part of me is kind of just like Nintendo made a bad decision about their online service. I'm not shocked,
Yeah,
even in the slightest. But hey, that's neither here nor there. Krispy, you ready?
Yeah.
Do it.
All right. So my big hype this weekend is a bit beyond gaming because this is the weekend that Dune comes out. Woo!
Oh.
So non-gaming hype is Dune. Non-gaming sweat is that I'm hearing great things, amazing
About
things,
Dune?
lovely things. Yeah. But it also, it's only like half the story, It's going to end at a point that, from what I understand, a lot of people felt like the story was really just kind of like getting going, and then it ends. And we, still haven't even heard word of a definite sequel yet. So that fucking sucks, because I'm definitely going to watch this immediately. And I anticipate that it will be something I enjoy just because I love the material and I love the director. But yeah, man, that wait's gonna be a bitch.
Yep.
If
I mean,
we,
it's one thing. It'd be one thing if we knew it was already greenlit and like they were starting filming already. So
right,
it's like,
or if they just like shot the whole fucking book, but that doesn't happen. So except for Lord of the Rings, but whatever. Gaming related, my hype this week is kind of a tentative hype, but like I'm oddly intrigued. Actually, Chris Davis is the one that pinged me on this, but the that Mobile Suit Gundam Battle Operations 2, they're doing a standalone, not like a sequel, but I don't know. It looks like a standalone expansion almost, called Battle Operations Operation Pixie, I think is what it's called, and it's going to be a what, or Operation Fairy, yeah. Because it's like Noisy Fairy is the name of the squad that it's about, and it's going to be about a squadron of all-female Xeon pilots during the 1-year war. So it looks like Gundam waifu, like Gundam space fascist waifus. And I'm into it. Okay, I'll play that. Sure, why not? I'll play it.
Oh,
you're into space fascist waifus.
If they're cute, I guess. And then my gaming sweat is for the fact that like I still have not started Metroid Dread, and I'm getting buried over here. The games are coming back. I'm finding more ways to fill my time, and I really want to make time for Metroid Dread, but like,
Stormwalker's coming out? Is it Stormwalker?
A lot of people have been really positive on it, but like, and Walker.
And Walker.
And Walker, yes, Nick. A lot of people have been really positive on it, but I feel like in our community it's being like picked over and dissected a lot to the point where it's like losing some of the magic for me, right?
That's why you just gotta jump in, man, because it's when you get into it, it's just like, oh man, I'm playing a Metroid game, and it's a pretty good ass Metroid game. The magic will just wash over you.
I guess, I guess. I don't know. We'll see. I gotta find time for it at some point. So that's my 4-player minute.
All right. Thank you, sir. My 4-player minute starts now. My sweat this week is they released a trailer for a movie called Uncharted today.
What's it about?
That is I've watched that trailer a few times now, and my first reaction was kind of ugh. And then my second watch through I was like, okay. All right. And then I watched it a third time and I was like, I could be into this. I could be into this. But like I can't, part of me just can't shake the fact that like I'm watching this trailer and I'm like, it's first of all, it's just like why do they feel the need to recreate these? I know that I kind of understand the desire to try and recreate these iconic scenes from the game, but it's also not based on any of the games. It's just kind of like, it's an original story, quote unquote, and then they're just throwing in set pieces that were in other scenarios in the game. I don't know, it's weird. And like the cargo plane sequence in particular is kind of where it started to lose me in the trailer. Also the casting is a little strange. Mark Wahlberg as Sully is a little odd. Though if they have good chemistry, like if Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg have good chemistry and they have funny there's a couple moments in the trailer I was like, oh, that's pretty funny. If the movie is just like that and it's got a nice sense of humor and it's fun, I'm into it. I'll enjoy it. But at the same time, it's also a movie based on a video game that's been in development hell for like 8 years. And that just doesn't bode well for it. So I don't really know what to think. I don't know what to think. I'm a little worried about it, but I'm going to watch it.
I'll tell you what the bad thing about that trailer is that in a announcement revealed trailer like that, where you have a lot of action going on and you're really trying to convince people that this is a action movie, you're not in a position to where you can properly use the Nathan Drake character to where the audience is really going to gravitate towards him. Because in Nathan Drake as a character, he's two things. He's shooting guns and witty banter. And you can only do one or the other.
I think they do a little bit of both in the trailer. Honestly, the thing that
I don't think they do the latter well enough.
The trailer to me, what it was lacking was like Nathan Drake's like really intense knowledge of world history, right, and like the treasure hunting aspect of it. Like they make one comment about it in the trailer, and you don't really get that sense of like, oh, this guy is very worldly and all about the treasure, and like that's kind of what I wanted more of. But I somebody in our Discord pointed out like Tom Holland actually looks shockingly a lot like the young version of Nathan Drake that they used in Uncharted 3. So, and they're obviously going for a young Nathan Drake in this movie, so that might work. I don't know.
If they want to make a franchise out of these movies,
but Tom Holland,
yeah.
Tom Holland has a bit of a type, his characters tend to be this, especially after Spider-Man. But it works. He's good at delivering those kinds of lines and that kind of humor, I guess. But I don't know. I'm just worried.
He's going to be in his 40s before he actually stops doing characters that are in high school.
I saw somebody compare Tom Holland in this Uncharted movie with Shia LaBeouf and Indiana Jones.
That's too apt is the problem. It's way too apt.
Yeah, that's not an unfair comparison, I suppose.
Which, honestly, to be fair, I don't think he's the worst part of Indiana Jones 4.
No. Definitely not. But I think on a general level, I do tend to enjoy Tom Holland in movies more than I tend to enjoy Shia LaBeouf. Although there's a few noteworthy movies in his filmography that I have not seen, so who knows. But anyways, my hype this week is of course fucking Dexter New Blood, man. 17 days. We are in the teens. I am beyond excited. And I apologize to everyone who has to suffer through my excitement.
No, you don't.
My thank you goes to Krispy for elevating my excitement to play Inscryption. I bought it during the break. It looks really cool. It sounds really cool, and it sounds like a really creative horror game. I think there's been a few of those this year, and tis the season to, I guess, take some risks on those kinds of games. So I'm going for it. And let's just say I don't really have a fuck you this week, although I feel like I probably should. You know what? Fuck Konami. The more I think about, we had this big conversation about getting back into game development, and if it means Silent Hill makes a comeback, I'm all for it. I'm excited.
The only reason they're getting back into gaming is the fact that pachinko parlors were hit hard by COVID.
Right. I mean, it's all. I mean, it's corporate. Of course, it's every company is they do it for the money. Konami especially feels especially egregious, though, I think, just because of the decisions they've made in the past. So fuck those guys. I can't wait to see what those projects are and the talent that's behind them. I think it's safe to assume at this point that most of those games, if not all of them, are going to be, if they're good, it's going to be because of the non-Konami talent that is bringing them to life. Since it appears they're going to be outsourcing almost everything, if not everything. So, on one hand, maybe that's for the best. On the other hand, seriously, fuck Konami. What? Why do they not? They have some of the greatest IP. Like, they have 3 incredible franchises. At least 3. Metal Gear, Castlevania, and Silent Hill. Incredible franchises, among others. And they can't be bothered to do anything with them themselves. So, fuck them. And I think that's going to be a wrap for this podcast, guys. Thank you, Ed, for being here.
You're welcome.
And
Glad
for
to be
talking
here.
about video games, as always. And thank you out there for listening. Thanks for watching if you're watching us on Twitch. In the meantime, be sure to join us in Discord at discord.gg/4Player. Tune in for streams. I'm going to be doing a Halloween stream hopefully this weekend. I'll let everybody know when that's going to happen. But if it is this weekend, I'm going to be playing through a bunch of horror games, just bouncing around, trying out some cool shit. So come check that out. And, of course, you can find all of our podcasts over at 4playernetwork.com. But in the meantime, guys, until next week, be safe, have fun, play video games, and be good to each other. Good night.
Bye.